Hi, I'm Carrie Johnson. I'm the 4-H educator at the Canyon County Extension Office. I work with the University of Idaho, and I am here to record a video for you today of how to use the new Canyon County online fair entry system for 4-H and FFA exhibitors. So hopefully you have already found our online entry instructional sheets. If not, get a hold of the Canyon County Extension Office. It'll be posted on our website, and that will be a big help to you. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a demonstration. So we're going to start out by going to our web browser. And I suggest that you use either Google Chrome or Firefox. Sometimes Internet Explorer just has a few extra bumps. If you are using an Apple product, any of the browsers that you can use on there should work just fine. This should also work on any mobile device or tablet. So if you go to canyonsale.fairwire.com, you will get to this page. From here, it has a few reminders. Our deadlines for entries for horse are due June 15th at 5 p.m. and any non-horse entries are due July 2nd at 5 p.m. And this page also gives you the office number here for our office if you have any questions, or an email address where you can get help from a staff member or our volunteer who is helping with this. So what you need to do is start with the sign in, which is the blue box up in the right hand corner. And from here, you will need to choose whether you are doing an exhibitor or a quick group. And the big difference is if you do an exhibitor, you will be entering just one youth in, and this will be any and all entries that they do. But I think most of you will probably do a quick group, which is more than one group. So I'm going to go ahead and do an example of that. So once you click on that, you will need to select a group username, and I'm just going to do the Johnson family. And yes, this is a new group. Continue. And from here, it will ask you for a password. We suggest keeping it fairly simple, but definitely write it down because you will be able to go back in and see what you entered and edit entries up until the deadline. So I'm going to just keep it really simple. You can do an email here is optional, but you can go ahead. Same thing if you have a one club that you work with or one school, you can do that. Anything with a blue asterisk is required, but otherwise it's optional. So this page is just a verification page. If everything looks all right, just hit continue. So from here, we have the option to begin adding exhibitors and entries. So we're going to do our first person. So we're going to use an example of Tina. So this is a new exhibitor. Hit continue. And it will ask you for a password. This is just in case you have more than one youth. Every youth will have an individual password. I'm just going to use the office address to keep it fast. It does ask for a county, so go ahead and enter it in if you are Ada or Canyon County. And it's really important that you use your current address, your current phone number, current email, and of course the name. And this is important because this is the name that will be on any check. So for example, if you're selling a livestock market animal, that is the name that will be on the check. And the address that you enter will be the address that we send the check too, because this year we will be mailing out all checks. The phone number is really important just in case we have any questions on your entries, and occasionally we do need your email address to email out some information as we get closer to the show. So please make sure that those are your correct name, address, phone number, and email. And of course, date of birth, we will use this to determine your showmanship class. So that's very important. As well as the question of, have you shown an animal before? That will let us know if your youth is 8 to 10 years old and they've never shown an animal before, they will be put in a novice class. So you want to hit continue. And again, just this is a double check page. Make sure everything looks all right. And hit continue. All right. So now we're going to make our first entry. So you start out with your department, and I'm going to enter Tina into a swine project. And of course, every youth who shows an animal must do showmanship class. So we're going to start out with showmanship. So our example here is a 4-H showman, but if you're in FFA, you would choose FFA showmanship. And then this is where you pick the club that you will be entering under. So we're going to pick Tiny Tots. It's not a real club, but you would pick your club. And one of the reasons why we have set it up this way is sometimes you are in one club for one particular species or project and in a different club for another species or project. Right? So we're going to hit add entry to cart. And then we have the options here to go ahead and choose the department again, or add a different entry, or add similar entry. For this one, I'm going to show you kind of the same way so that you can see it again. We're going to go ahead and go back and enter in the quality class. So we've done showmanship, but we have to enter that animal into the market class. Again, this is some really important information. We need to know the tag number of our pig, and I'm just picking a random one. Let's see, Tiny Tots is the right club. We're going to go ahead and add that entry. Okay, so we can also do an add similar entry. And if we do that, it will come back to swine and market. And we can choose our market class again, and we can say we had 2 pigs. We're not quite sure if they're going to both make weight. We're not sure if they're going to bring both, but we're going to go ahead and enter them both. So, all right. So now we can hit continue. And this will give us a summary page to show us what we have done for entry so far. So we can see that Tina has been entered in her showmanship class, her swine market classes, both for tag number 81 and for 80 and 81. And since this is a market class, part of the fees that were paid ahead of time included the entry fees. So there's no entry fee right now. So if you look across the bottom, we can add more entries for Tina. We can empty the cart if nothing is right and we just need to start over. You can save the cart for later, or we can add entries for a different exhibitor, which is what we're going to do. We're going to add our second youth. So we're going to do one for Bob. All right, and again, it's going to ask us for a password. You can just use the same password, or you can choose a different one. That's okay. I'm going to use the same email address. You can choose a different email address. That's fine. All right, we picked a birth date. And again, we'll calculate the ages that we need to use to figure out which showmanship class to put it in. All right, need to correct my email address. Okay, double checking our information. Okay, so let's see, let's go ahead and do a different type of species. So we'll go ahead and do a dairy cattle one. And of course, we are gonna go ahead and pick showmanship first. We're going to go ahead and say that Bob is a FFA showman, which means that normally we would go ahead and choose an FFA chapter in our list. All of the FFA chapters that show at our fair have been added. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it Tiny Tots just for this example, because that's how we're finding these particular practice entries to delete them. So just kind of ignore that for this example. So we've done the showmanship, but we're going to go ahead and make sure that we enter in the quality class. So we're going to enter in for a senior calf, female. The animal birth date is just, again, to kind of verify that we're entering that heifer into the right class. Tag number, any other identifying information is, as always, just like we would do on the paper entries, just really helpful. So, all right. And you can, of course, if you need to, put in an animal name. All right. So, again, we can go to continue. We can double check. It divides up all of the entries for each youth with a bowl. It does cost to show to enter into dairy cattle, so we've done that just on based on the quality, so that's by animal. So you can see there it's showing $5. So again, we can enter in more for the member that we were just working with, or we can add in for a new exhibitor. So we're going to go ahead and do another exhibitor just to show you one more example, and then we'll move on. All right. Again, I'm just going to use the same password for this example, but you can change all of this information if that's what works for the group you are entering. Okay. Double checking that information. So when you look at this drop-down list, you might notice that it includes things like clothing, foods and nutrition, and miscellaneous. The reason why those are in there is we will be changing the way that we do exhibits in O'Connor Fieldhouse. And so we've gone ahead and just added them in there. We think that we would like to ask for entries next year, but we're going to go ahead and make it optional this year. It won't charge, but if you do have a non-animal project, it would be really helpful for us to have that information. So we'll go ahead and we're going to click on a clothing project here just as a quick example. So let's say that we entered into under construction. You can choose one entry. This year we're going to make it so that you can do up to 2 entries for your non-animal projects in O'Connor Fieldhouse. So you can just do a plus there. It makes it super easy. All right, and that's it. That's 1 entry for that person. It's really fast. Another one that's maybe a little bit more complicated is horse. So we'll start, of course, with showmanship. That's required. It's a 4-H showman. We are going to call this one Skipper. Skipper is a 15-year-old horse. And again, that's some identifying information. All right, so you can see here you can do in-hand trail, walk, trot, limited, and all other horse classes. So we've tried to make this pretty easy. So you can just click here. Let's say you're doing English pleasure and English equitation. click on them and you can be done. If you're using a different horse, you can just tell us right here. It makes it really easy to do that. So we'll go ahead and hit continue, and you can see that all of the entries for everyone that's in our example family are all here. From this point, if everything looks okay and that's everybody, you can just hit checkout. The next thing it will ask you is for your signature, so to speak. So this is an online submission, and in the old days, when you looked at our old entry forms, there would be signatures at the bottom. So if you type yes here, you are agreeing to the above statement saying that you will follow our 4-H and FFA codes of conduct, the fair rules and regulations, our livestock rules, and our auction rules. This is the same thing that when you signed your old entry forms you were agreeing to, but if you do say no here, it will not save your entries that you have made. So if you say no, you know, you're gonna have to go back and enter everything again. So once you've typed yes, you hit submit. And then it'll take you to your payment information. That will go live on May 1st, so this recording's being done before that. So make sure that you follow that page to do this. Unfortunately, by going to our online entry system, you will have to do everything online, including enter and pay. If there's a problem with this, please contact our office so we can try to help you and find a way to make this work for you. We really appreciate you going through this with us, and it's, I think it'll be a really good thing in the end. So once you've done your payment, you can click here and you can have your receipt emailed to you. And the really nice thing about this is that then you have a copy in your email. You can pull it up at any time. You can also print out that page before the detailed receipt. And that's really nice because then you have a copy of everything that you've entered right at your fingertips, either in print version or digitally in your email. The last screen will ask you for your feedback. This will help us make this even better next year. So last step, make sure you sign out on the computer that you're using. If you have any questions, please let us know at the Extension office and we will be happy to help you out. So thank you, and hope this video helped.